It's not a joke. You read the title of this video correctly. We are talking about Christopher Watts today. And against my better judgment, I'm doing it anyways. Because I want to answer the question that so many people have asked me directly. And I'm going to do my best to try to put it in non-legalese terms. Boil it down, I guess, to just the simplest possible way to answer the question. Can Christopher Watts file a 35C and then be granted a new trial on the grounds of, winning the 35C? These are the questions that have been asked to me multiple times, more times than I care to remember over the past couple of months. So let's jump into it. And thank you. Thank you for joining me today. First, we need to understand what is a 35C. A 35C is a motion that an attorney will file on the grounds that an individual's constitutional rights were violated at some part of the process, either at arrest, either their rights were violated at the point of arrest, confession, or interrogation, or it was violated during the court hearings or the sentencing. At some point, the individual's constitutional rights must be violated. Now, it must be noted that when the attorney, or in this case, Christopher Watts, files the 35C motion with the court, and he will have to file it in Weld County, Colorado. When he files that, he must state in there the reason for filing the 35C. Are there more than one grounds to file a 35C underneath the constitutional amendment issue? Yes, there are. There can be multiple different reasons to file a 35C. But going back, and not just about Christopher Watts, but anybody, anyone, you could be convicted of a crime. And then after you're convicted and sentenced to a crime, the day you are actually filed, given the sentence for your crime, your attorney can file an appeal. You see it all the time. So-and-so, celebrity was convicted of a crime, embezzlement, but his attorney says, we're filing an appeal and he's going to be released on bond. Well, that's not going to happen with Christopher Watts. The day he was convicted 2+ years ago, when he committed the crimes, against his family, killing obviously his wife and his 3 children, the day he actually was sentenced, they could have filed this 35C then. They didn't have to wait all this time. They don't have to wait another 6 months either. Well, but they do. They want to wait another 30, days, 60 days, 6 months, because they're milking you out of your money. And I've seen the comments online, and I've seen the people actually saying, I'll give money to Christopher Watts. I've seen the GoFundMe accounts that have been up, been closed down. I've seen them reopen. I've seen them closed down. It's going to go on and on and on. And I've also seen YouTube creators out there begging for your money to try to raise money for Christopher Watts' legal defense fund, along with his parents raising money to try to get him to, money for an attorney so they can file a 35C. They could have done that the day he was convicted and sentenced. Okay, but anyways, you're convicted of a crime. You can file an appeal, which is a 35C, the very day of the actual conviction and sentencing. Why did they wait 2 years? No, I don't know. What will happen if let's just say the attorney, he is able to come up with the money, the attorney files the 35C motion on behalf of Christopher Watts. What will he put in there? The most likely thing, and the one that most attorneys go with, is ineffective assistance of counsel. Because remember, underneath the Colorado state constitution, the state's constitution, not the federal constitution, the state's constitution for the state of Colorado, he has two avenues to appeal, and only two. And by those two avenues to appeal, neither one will ever grant him a trial. Did you understand what I said? Neither one will ever grant him an actual trial where they will go over evidence, where they can bring in witnesses, or anything at all. None of that will ever happen. It can't happen at this point in the case, and the length of time from the point where he was convicted to now. Evidence did not have to be kept. Evidence did not have to be stored. It didn't have to be recorded. It didn't have to do anything. After he took that appeal, there is no rolling the clock back to the point where he can say, Nicole Kissinger was there with me. She was in the driveway. She killed my wife, and I helped her dispose of the body, and then I killed my girls. He can't say any of that. Even after, if they were to grant him the relief underneath the motion of 35C, they will never have a trial. The absolute most he can hope for, and his attorneys and his fans and everybody out there, and all those creators out there who are making money, they're making money off of your stupidity. Those people, every one of them, the most that Christopher Watts and them all can hope for is that he'll get the chance to go back to the bargaining table with the DA, where they will say, okay, we will offer you X amount of years if you plead guilty again. That is the absolute most he can hope for in this case. Why would he want to do that? I'm going to tell you why he would never want to do that, and why it would be foolish for Christopher Watts to do that, or his mom, or his dad, or anybody else who thinks he's freaking innocent. I will get to that in a moment. But back to the 35C. The attorney files it, ineffective assistance of counsel. Then the attorney, if it ever is brought up in front of the court, the higher court, the attorney must then outline the entire thing. He must, this is how his original attorneys were not effective in his defense. This is where they erred. This is what they did. This is what they didn't do, and so on, so on, so on. And then, and only then, if there's actual proof, not, I think they didn't do enough for him, or they didn't do this for him, they have to actually prove that they didn't effectively aid in his defense, or follow his wishes in the defense, or Christopher Watts was mentally ill at the time he signed the actual plea agreement. They'd have to prove something for order the court to go, you know what, you're right. You will actually be able to go back to the bargaining table with the state, and they can, re-sentence you. You guys can come up with another option. Here's why Christopher Watts, his family, his supporters, and everybody else out there would be an absolute fool to actually go back to the state of Colorado and ask for, something else at the bargaining table. One, they would most certainly put the death penalty back on the table. That'd be number one. That the state would say, all right, fine. We're putting the death penalty back on the table. Then defense is going to say, well, we don't want the death penalty. And they're going to be like, we don't care. We don't care. Everybody in the nation and in the world wants your ass dead. Why would we want to give up that? And let's just say that they threaten them with that. The very next thing they're going to say is, okay, on this charge, this charge, this charge, just the charges of disposal of the body. He did not get the maximum on that. Fine, we'll give you the maximum on disposal of Celeste, Bella, and Nico, and we'll give you a little bit of time off for disposal, for Shanann. that those charges alone would add more years to his actual sentence if they gave him the maximum on those, along with the actual murder charges, obviously which he would have to admit to, he's confessed to, all over again. So why would he go back to the bargaining table? What is possibly in it for Christopher Watts? What's in it for his fans? Well, his fans want to believe that he's innocent, that somebody else drove him, pushed him, talked him into it, or was there the day he did it. That's what they want. That's what they desperately want. They desperately want somebody else to be held accountable. We all know Nicole Kissinger, all right, she was morally bankrupt. Morally bankrupt. Being involved with a man she knew was married. Even if she believed they were getting a separation, which I don't believe and nobody's ever believed. Even if she believed he was getting a separation, she was involved with a married man. Morally bankrupt. Is she legally, and responsible for whatever he did in any aspect? Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the last time I'm ever going to answer this question. If she was guilty of anything at all, even remotely, driving the getaway car, something, giving him the opportunity, being there parked outside of his home, according to the blind neighbor across the street who saw him in the dark with no street light. Even if she was there, if there was a chance that they could have convicted her of anything at all, they would have done it. To believe that she's guilty of something, and then they decided, you know what, we're just going to let her go. No, they would have convicted her of anything. They could have. If they could have found a text message, anything that said, Chris, I think you should kill your wife. That way we can start a family together. They never found that text. And again, 100% of all the pictures, text messages, everything from her cell phone and Christopher Watts' cell phone, their work cell phones, and everything else, they covered all their bases. They didn't quickly close the case against her. They kept the case open all the way to the point where Christopher Watts was convicted of the crime, and they didn't clear her until then. Okay? But if they could have convicted her of anything, they would have done it. What possible reason would they have had to not convict her or charge her with a crime in this if she was guilty of something? Again, I understand. People want her to be guilty. They want somebody else sentenced. And those who also think that Christopher Watts is innocent want him released from prison because maybe he changed his mind. Maybe he has a new confession or a new story. Well, he's already told not one, not two, but 3 different versions, because you haven't heard the audio files of what he said to Miss Cadle and to others who have talked to him, and interviewed him for the movies, for the biopic, and everything else. He's changed his story multiple times. He's a pathological liar. Okay? But again, believe whatever the hell you want. He's an evil son of a bitch. Okay? He deserves to die for what he did. I can't make that any clearer. He's guilty. He is going to rot in prison the rest of his life. And every breath the man takes is one more breath that his family didn't get. And that's it. But can he file a 35C? Anyone can. Anyone can file one. You have to have something to back it up, though, before the court is going to take it and actually give you a hearing on it. And then when they give you a hearing on it, you have to prove each aspect of the 35C. One last thing I want you to consider if you've made it this far into the video. Since this all happened, thousands of legal scholars and those who are in the profession, as in professors of law at different universities across the United States and around the world have looked at this case. If there was a constitutional rights violation anywhere, we would all have seen it by now. This case has been picked through so many times, and so many people are still talking about it today. And it's disgusting. But they are. Because it's made careers, and it's made people like you and you and you still want to talk about it. Because you're trying to understand in your head why he did it. And we will never know why he did it, because we can't trust anything that ever comes out of his mouth. Stay safe. And don't forget, Bella, Celeste, Deco, and Shannon